In this exercise, I'm going to show you how to apply a series of manual lens corrections so that you can take an image that absolutely defies straightening and make every line exactly right. So I have open interiorpool.dng found inside the 24 camera raw folder, once again captured at San Simeon. So this is the modest interior pool at the Hearst Estate. And I've gone ahead and saved off some adjustments as a snapshot. So I'll apply that snapshot by going to the flyout menu icon here, choosing Apply Snapshot, and choosing, once again, Basic Adjustments. And that does a great job of bringing the color out of the scene, but there are some straightening problems. In fact, the whole scene just appears a little bit off. But it's not so much off that we're going to get anywhere with the Straighten tool. In fact, if I select the Straighten tool and then drag along an edge here, it looks like it was already just fine in the first place, and then I'll release, and I guess it was kind of out of whack. All right. And then I'll press the Z key to switch to the zoom tool so I can see the image as it appears when straightened. And it's like, that's not straight. That's horrible. And this becomes an absolute exercise in frustration. So I'm going to switch over to the crop tool, and I'm going to choose clear crop in order just to get rid of that, because that's not right at all. In fact, the straightened version of the image was more crooked than the original. All right, so I'll press the Z key to switch back to the zoom tool. I'll bring up the lens corrections panel, which is already up, but you click on this icon right there. And then I want you to click on manual. The reason being, I could turn on enable lens profile corrections, but Camera Raw is unaware of my camera. And if I choose an option from make, Olympus isn't even listed at this point in time. So I can't find my Olympus E30, even though it's a pretty common camera. Anyway, so I'll turn this checkbox off and I'll switch over to manual. And then I will apply some manual modifications. For example, I can see that I've got some horizontal perspective. In other words, the left half of the scene is farther away from me than the right half. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this horizontal option right there, this horizontal slider bar, over to -8. And that's going to move the left wall toward me and the right wall away. And then I'm going to fix the distortion as well. Notice that we have some barreling going on. So in other words, the top of the ceiling is bending upward and the bottom of the pool is bending downward. And we can compensate for that by applying a little bit of pin cushioning. So if I wanted to increase the barrel distortion, then I would drag this slider triangle over to the left-hand side. And you can see that I'll get a barrel effect because of that icon right there. However, if I want pin cushioning, which is what I'm really looking for, then I would drag the slider triangle to the right, and a value of about +8 works out pretty nicely here. We have some fairly straight lines going on. Now I'm going to go ahead and just slightly compensate for the vertical perspective that's at work in the scene. So I'm going to change that vertical value to -1. And then finally, I'm going to go ahead and crop the scene. So I'll grab my crop tool, and I will drag around the area that I want to keep. Now notice as soon as I release the crop tool, the crop boundary goes ahead and jumps inside of the image. And this is a function of that option I was telling you about in the previous exercise. If I right-click inside of the image window and turn off Constrain to Image, now I can drag this crop boundary outside of my lens correction. And that way, I would then open the image inside of Photoshop. I would have some white or some transparency in the background that I would have to fill in, once again, using Content-Aware Fill or one of those features. Now, I don't want that, so I'm going to go ahead and right-click inside my image window again, turn on Constrain to Image, and that'll go ahead and make the crop boundary as large as it can be while still fitting inside of my corrected image. All right, now I might move this crop boundary in just a little bit like so, and then to finish things off, I'll press the Z key so that I have cropped the scene. And to give you a sense of what we've achieved here, I'll go ahead and turn the preview checkbox off. Notice how that right-hand side of the scene is coming at us, and as a result, every single horizontal line is off. As soon as I turn preview back on, then all the horizontal lines are exactly in plumb. And when I say exactly, they might be ever so slightly out of plumb here or there. But my gosh, the scene is so much better. It's just picture postcard perfect. I can do the same thing in SanSimeonPool.dng as well. So having gone ahead and already straightened this image in the previous exercise, I would now set about using my manual lens correction options here. Now, problem is, where this scene is concerned, it's hard to keep track of all the lines. This thing's got lines all over it, and it would be nice if I had some kind of grid to compare the lines to. And I can get that grid by pressing the C key. So that switches me to the crop tool. As long as I'm seeing the overlay, so show overlay is turned on for me, then I have some grid lines with which I can compare my scene. All right, now I'll go ahead and experiment with the distortion because I'm not exactly sure what, if any, kind of distortion I have going on in this scene. Maybe just a tiny bit is at work. I shouldn't think that I have too much in the way of vertical perspective, but I could play with that option as well. It seems to me where I'm going to have the most success is modifying this horizontal option so that, again, the left side of the scene comes at me a little bit so that we're straightening out these horizontal lines down here in the foreground. So I'll go ahead and try, let's say, a horizontal value of -5. Perhaps might work out pretty well. Or maybe I'm going the wrong direction. Positive something is what I want. I'm just fishing around for the right settings, folks. It looks to me like something like +4 is working out pretty nicely. And you also have the option of rotating and scaling the scene. Now, not a lot of purpose in scaling this specific scene. We're just going to introduce another degree of interpolation. That is by upsampling the image. But I might need to rotate, and rotate would basically be added to the straightening that we've already assigned. So we're applying some additional straightening, essentially. And this is starting to look pretty good. I think I might increase my horizontal option just a little bit more. Something like +7 is looking like it might work out for me. Maybe even +8 once again. And then once I come up with some settings that I like, and I think I might have rotated this too far. I'm just trying to get it exactly right here. Once I get some settings that I like, I guess I'll leave that rotation value alone at 0, that is to say. Then I'll press the Z key in order to apply the effect, and that goes ahead and delivers the results we're seeing on screen right now. So to see what we've accomplished here, I'll turn the preview checkbox off. This is the image coming at me on the left-hand side. So I guess it's the opposite effect I was having with the interior pool. And this is the image as it appears corrected using these manual options inside the lens corrections panel.